Hey everybody, welcome back to Lettermen Row. I am Austin Ward. That is Spencer Holbrook, and it's another day, another major story for college football and the Ohio State Buckeyes in particular. But today, a little bit more, I guess for the Buckeyes, it's been positive news for most of the week. They started camp, they got a schedule, no players had opted out, and then they kind of continued the ball rolling with what they believe to be a season that should happen for them, with a letter that was initially shared by Tuff Borland and then Wyatt Davis and some other captains on social media, where they talked about, Spencer, how comfortable they are with the health and safety protocol on campus for Ohio State. They responded to the Big Ten United Players Tribune letter that was published this week, suggesting for some demands across the league. They took on all these topics that have been hot, and the inherent risk of playing this year as well. And all of it added up to, they feel very comfortable at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, and they want to play, and nobody has opted out, and everybody else needs to get on their level.
I think the biggest takeaway is Ohio State knows that it's doing the right things. And I kind of hinted at this in a couple of videos throughout the week. Ohio State knows it's doing all the right things. It knows that it has the money, the capacity, the resources to do all the right things. They said, I think the letter said, they're in support of all of these things, but they don't need to be attached to the letter because they're already doing those things.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the most important things. Like, if you're Ohio State, you need to feel really good about where this is heading for you. I mean, if the rest of the Big Ten can't get on the same level, it might be some problems, but Ohio State obviously has the capacity to do it. And I think it's kind of a wake-up call for the rest of the Big Ten to say, well, Ohio State feels comfortable because whatever they're doing is working.
I think that, that came up earlier in the week when the captains were appointed, and Tuff Borland has now been one 3 times. It's not surprising. He's really been at the leading edge of, the social protests, the Black Lives Matter, helping organize those over the summer. He's never been the most talkative guy in the media, but now you're starting to see, I think, why people have been gravitating to him for 3 years as a leader within the doors there. He didn't do this by himself, obviously, but guys like him and Wyatt Davis and Josh Myers, who spoke so passionately on Tuesday about why he felt like if the restaurants and bars were open, that he should be allowed to take his risk, which is playing football. It's hard to argue against that. Now, I know that people will. That's sort of the way things go anymore. But
yeah,
Ohio State, these players, they're not scared to play. They also are acknowledging that it's not 100% safe, but football also never is. So they are comfortable and confident that everything is in place for them to actually have a season. But as we've said over and over, that doesn't mean that Rutgers is.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. Ohio State, I think Michigan is probably able to do everything the right way. Probably like the Wisconsins and Iowas are the same way. And then you get down to Maryland, Rutgers, you get down to even like the Michigan States that are having some trouble right now, Northwestern, don't have the resources that Ohio State has. And that's where you see the disadvantage come into play. Ohio State being in the Big Ten, you've got to have a conference be able to do it. And if that means, sorry, Rutgers, but it's a 13-team conference this year. Sorry, Maryland, it's a 12-team conference this year. I think you almost have to do it, because if there's a certain level of these players who feel confident playing on a certain level of teams, like it's got to come to a point where, like, okay, are we going to do this or are we not?
Yeah. And here's I think one of the key parts. You can read the entire letter. You can either follow Tuff Borland or you can go click on it at lettermenrow.com. We've got the entire letter posted there. And it reads, "It has been said that college athletes are being exploited, not only in the stated letter, but also in the media. We recognize that there are risks, but we have all chosen to be here and want the chance to play this fall. We know that there is still a long way to go as plans continue to change every day, but we have a consistent voice in the discussion." I think there's a number of things to unpack in there. We don't have to do all of that, but they have stressed over and over that they want the option to play. They also want the option to not play. And Ryan Day talked about that after practice on Thursday, that those conversations will continue. That doesn't mean that if you showed up for day one that you have to remain confident and remain on the roster permanently. They will continue to make any concession that needs to be made so that people feel safe and are willing to play. Nobody at Ohio State is being coerced to do this. And when you think about the power that they all have in their social media followings, or years of built-up credibility as leaders on that roster, when they speak up this way it's not because Ryan Day asked them to or Gene Smith asked them to. Josh Myers, Wyatt Davis, Tuff Borland, Justin Fields, Sean Wade, those guys are all going to be really rich really soon. They don't need to do this unless they want to.
Yeah, I think that's another big thing. These guys want to be here. And if they didn't want to be there, they wouldn't. They would just opt out because they could just go to the NFL. Like, you've seen many guys just, okay, that's fine. I've proven myself enough. I'm going to the NFL. No, these guys want to be there. And maybe it is more because they want to win a national championship. Maybe Ohio State isn't at an advantage because they have a chance to win a national championship. But at the end of the day, they've been in the building long enough, 2 months now. They see the protocols, they see the sanitation, they see everything that the program's doing, and they realize we're safe in this building.
Yeah.
It's the likelihood of them getting this virus within that building is very low unless one of the guys, decides to go pick up wings somewhere. But the risk of them getting this virus in the building is super low, and I think they are realizing that. They see the protocols in action, and now it just comes down to what are the other schools going to do. And I think this letter was meant to show how much they know Ohio State's doing, but it also says, hey, the rest of the Big Ten, the pressure's on. Like, we know what we're doing is working. Get up to speed or get out.
Right. All right. That's Ohio State has made that well known throughout this week with both the captains and Ryan Day where they stand on this, and they are barreling towards a season. They want as many teams as possible to join them so that they can all play. There's a lot of I guess it's been an interesting week in college football, but sort of an optimistic tone coming from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center here in Columbus. We'll continue to cover that as we always do at Lettermen Row, hoping that everything continues on the track that it's on now with the schedule and training camp started and a lot more to come as football tries to get rolling again. That's Spencer Holbrook. I'm Austin Ward. This has been Lettermen Row.